Meanwhile, in Porterville, highest gas prices in America. Record crime, violence, and homelessness. Stop Newsom redistricting.
California didn't just sigh today. It snapped, and the billboards told the truth louder than any press conference. Voters are done whispering about gas prices, crime, homelessness, and a governor who keeps promising the most democratic fix while rewriting the rules mid-game. Here's the headline you clicked for. Gavin Newsom is rushing a first-of-its-kind.
Not only has Gavin Newsom received $700,000 from PG&E in just the last couple of years, some of this money came from direct contributions and other donations to his wife's gender justice films. Yeah. So they've donated $2.5 million just to Newsom's gubernatorial campaign since the year 2000. And Newsom has been giving PG&E every single rate hike indirectly via California Public Utilities Commission. And get this, every single commissioner has been appointed by him or his predecessor, Jerry Brown. Just to show you how PG&E has got the most from their donations, this
plan to put new political maps in front of voters, framing it as historic and democratic, while critics, from watchdog groups to members on the assembly floor, call it a shameless mid-cycle power grab. That's the core event. And it matters now because the decisions made in the next few weeks will decide who holds power for years.
Brash new tone on social media mocking President Trump is getting noticed by voters. But will it help win approval of his new redistricting measure in November?
Eyewitness News political reporter Josh Haskell has the latest on a new poll that suggests the strategy may be working.
And whether California still believes in its own model of independent redistricting. If you've watched the clips of lawmakers saying they had minutes to read last-second amendments, if you've seen the highest gas prices, billboard mocking the governor from your car window, if you've felt your city get more expensive and less safe at the same time, this one is about you. Stay with me because we're going to pull 3 threads that will change how you see this. The freeway-level revolt that turned the governor into a punchline, the redistricting play that nonpartisan groups call a political earthquake, and the panic politics, ICE rumors, freeway blockades, viral outrage that try to drown out affordability and safety. Click confirmed. Public sentiment on the table. Now here's the contrarian twist. If this were the most democratic move, you wouldn't need to sprint it through before anyone can read it. Quick proof? When a group that usually avoids food fight politics steps in and says you're breaking the very system California held up as a national model, that's not a troll, it's a siren. Here's the roadmap. I'll show you how the mood flipped, why this specific redistricting gambit is the story inside the story, and how fear narratives are being used to distract you from the bill at the pump and the lock on the storefront. Let's start where the public started, with the giant freeway signs that don't lie. Picture the morning commute, brake lights stacked to the horizon, and a billboard that reads like a roast. Hi, I'm Gavin. I destroyed California with my bad ideas. Then line by line the charges. Highest gas prices in America, record crime and homelessness, delivered not as policy memos, but as punchlines. Context. You don't take out a billboard to make small talk. You do it when you've hit the point where a tweet isn't big enough to hold your anger. Application. The message isn't subtle. Families are choosing between rent and a full tank, small businesses are calculating which month they'll give up, and neighborhoods are rewriting their evening routines around what feels safe. Framing. Expectations versus reality. California sold itself as the dream, sun, opportunity, abundance. The reality too many residents see right now is a governor auditioning for 2028 while the present tense is on fire. That contrast hits harder than any opposition ad because it's not coming from a party war room. It's coming from the 101, the 405, the place you sit and count the minutes while your paycheck evaporates in traffic. Now the real plot, because the second best point sets the stage, but the strongest point breaks the stage in half. Newsom's promise. We'll be the first state to put the maps in front of the voters. Historic, he says. Democratic, he says. He even rolled out a line about how this is not the rule of law moment, but the rule of a certain someone, his way of signaling that red states drew hard-edged maps, so California will fight fire with fire. Context. This didn't materialize in a calm policy season. It arrived like a thunderclap after a night of national map-making chaos, with California leaders vowing to offset what other states did. Application. The plan was jammed through the Assembly to set up a November vote, even as lawmakers on the floor complained they hadn't even seen the new language before being told to greenlight it. Meanwhile, the League of Women Voters of California, hardly a MAGA fan club, warned that this move would gut the state's voter-approved independent redistricting process and replace it with the same partisan tinkering California claimed to have outgrown. That's not me editorializing. That's watchdog language landing like a gavel. Framing. Expectations versus reality. For years, leaders bragged that California's independent commission was the gold standard. The reality of a mid-cycle redo is that the referees are being swapped out after the first quarter, and the scoreboard operator is being asked to trust us. You don't save democracy by shrugging off your own rules when they become inconvenient. You prove democracy works by honoring the rules under pressure, and then the noise machine kicked in. Suddenly, the conversation veered from groceries, gas, and public safety into a swirl of fear beats. Whispers about immigration agents at polling places, freeway shutdowns framed as righteous democracy, cameras catching chaos while toddlers sit on shoulders in a crush of bodies and flags. Context. We saw traffic stopped on major arteries, furious drivers boxed in, emotions and concrete flying. Application. Every minute a city is paralyzed is a minute people at home decide not to go downtown next time, not to spend money, not to risk it. That's how commerce erodes, one not today decision at a time. Framing. Expectations versus reality. Leaders promised calm and competence. What people felt instead was improvisation and escalation. And the IC claim? It made no sense on its face. If you keep insisting non-citizens don't vote, why suggest immigration agents need to show up at voting sites? Panic is a confession you can hear. When officials change the subject to a phantom, it's because the real subject, the cost of living, the loss of order, is crushing them in the polls of daily life. There's a moment every long-running show faces, the episode where even the friendly reviewers stop sugarcoating it. When sympathetic anchors tell you to drop the obsession with a political foil and talk about prices, that's not betrayal, that's survival instinct. Context. You could feel the patience thinning on air. Stop tweeting at Trump. Start lowering bills. Application. If even your own commentators are begging you to shift from performative jabs to practical fixes, it means the audience has tuned out the rivalry subplot. They want the rent stabilized, the neighborhood steady, the store open tomorrow morning. Framing. Expectations versus reality. Politics promised catharsis by dunking on enemies. Reality wants deliverables, lower bills, safer blocks, working transit, clean sidewalks. Walk with me through the street-level evidence. Skid Row isn't a talking point. It's a sobering city within a city. Picture storefronts layered with security shutters, temporarily closed signs that become permanent, and tourists who used to feed entire neighborhoods now rerouting to other states. Context. It's not just the visible encampments, it's the invisible exits. Families who quietly sell, creators who pack up studios, podcasters who relocate their listeners and their tax base. Application. When a flagship coffee shop shutters in the heart of a global city, it's not about coffee, it's about confidence. Businesses read the weather before the storm hits. Framing. Expectations versus reality. California promised that the biggest problems could be managed with the right tone and the right values. Reality answered with spreadsheets. Insurance costs up, security costs up, foot traffic down, margins gone. Now back to the central heist. Because this mid-cycle redistricting push isn't floating in theory class. It's moving through the machinery, while most people are trying to make rent. We have a governor pitching it as noble defiance. They fired first, so we're fighting back, and a legislature hustling a ballot measure to the calendar. Context. Retaliation politics is a sugar high. It spikes the base, it trends, it fades, and the bill arrives later. Application. If California invites itself back into partisan map-making, it loses the last moral high ground it used to lecture other states. The clip you'll see in future hearings will be officials from elsewhere holding up California as Exhibit A. They did it. Why can't we? Framing. Expectations versus reality. Leaders told you we were the antidote to gerrymandering. The reality of this play is an admission. When power is threatened, principle becomes a costume. Here's the uncomfortable comparison that keeps surfacing because voters keep making it. During the last administration in Washington, energy policy aimed for domestic production and lower costs at the pump. Rightly or wrongly, people felt it in their wallets. In Sacramento today, we get the press conference empathy and the clever sound bites, but what lands on the kitchen table is the bill. Context. This isn't a personality test, it's a results test. Application. When you stack records side by side, gas prices, job flight, public safety trends, California's brand management stops working. You can win a cable segment and lose a neighborhood. Framing. Expectations versus reality. The expectation was that California could spend, regulate, and message its way through any storm. Reality says price signals beat press releases every time. Let's loop back, because you need the callback for the payoff we opened earlier.